Welcome to the Big Picture Retirement Show, where you'll learn what it really takes to have a successful retirement. With over 20 years of experience, your host, Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, has seen it all and is here to help you achieve your retirement dreams. This is the Big Picture Retirement Show.
Welcome in to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. Rick is a partner of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, has over 20 years experience in the financial industry, and the team at Safeguard is here to help you create your big picture blueprint. That's going to give you direction and clarity on your road to retirement. Income planning, investment planning, tax efficient planning, healthcare, long-term care, legacy planning. There's so many moving parts. Well, what about Social Security? It's in the income part. What about Medicare? It's in the healthcare part. So a lot of moving pieces. If you want to find out more about Rick and the team, safeguardinvestment.com. They do events from time to time in different places. You can find out when and where those are. Maybe you want to sign up. Safeguardinvestment.com. A lot of great information there. And, of course, you can always call. Hey, I'm going to retire here pretty soon. I don't know if I'm on the right track. Can I even retire? Do I have enough? When can I retire? 800-700-1980. No cost to chat with Rick and the team. 800-700-1980. I'm Mark Elliott. Welcome to the program. Welcome, Rick. How are you?
Oh, real good, Mark. Thank you so much.
Well, Rick, we're going to have a topic about me. We're talking financial literacy. I just fall on the other side of that, financial illiteracy. And a lot of people do. And that's what we're going to talk about. How in the world do we know all of the things that we need to know when it comes to retirement? How do we do it ourselves? This is, the DIY network is a big deal. A lot of people want to know how to redo their kitchen, redo the bathroom, build a porch, do this, do that. I don't have any skills in that area, and I don't have a lot of skills when it comes to finances. So this will be kind of a fun show, I think. Here's the deal, Rick. Most Americans get a failing grade when it comes to retirement literacy, according to the American College of Financial Services. So there was a test, a quiz. 89% of female participants flunked a 38-question quiz. 72% of men failed the quiz. So, Rick, there's a clear gap here in scores, but the bottom line is most of us are lacking in the area of financial literacy, especially in the area of retirement. Are there topics with your 20 years experience that you find most people struggle with when you're trying to help them, plan for their retirement?
Yeah, the big topics are going to be taxes, long-term care, Social Security, pensions. I don't know if it's a problem or a challenge or whatever, but because when it comes to retirement planning, there's so many areas that need to be covered that it can be very overwhelming for people, and it can be a struggle. And like we talked about in previous shows, that the information that they read about or the information that they get on the internet is so overwhelming, and there's so much conflicting information as well. And how do they dissect this information? So that I would say is probably one of the biggest issues that causes people to not be educated, not pursue, and all the rest of it.
So researchers in this study, Rick, said that men often claim to have higher levels of knowledge and then test poorly. That makes sense. We know it all, right? We're not going to ask for directions. We know where we're going. Just be quiet. We're going to get there. I know exactly where I'm at. I'm not lost. Women's self-reported knowledge is more aligned to their actual literacy scores. So women are being more honest about what they don't know when it comes to finance. How do we get the guys on the same page and understand maybe that they also might need some retirement advice?
I think the scenario here, obviously everybody's different on why they don't do it. Sometimes it could be ego. Sometimes it just could be, procrastination. And a lot of it has to do with, and I'd wonder about this study is age, because, I think when we're younger, we see retirement as so far off that it's easier. I mean, we think we're going to live forever and all the rest of it. So it's so easy to put this kind of stuff off. And, as long as they're pulling a little money out of the paycheck, great. You think you're handling it. But I think as we get older and we get closer and closer and we have some life experiences and we gain a little bit of wisdom, we start realizing, hey, wait a minute, hold on. Maybe this is something I need to look at. So a lot of it has to do with age. A lot of it has to do with ego. But bottom line, it's getting the education. Obviously, we can't change people's psychology, but we certainly can at least educate them, give them some food for thought. So hopefully they can make, a decision, a decision that works best for them.
So you're saying now that when you're traveling with Shauna, your wife, you say, look, I don't know where I'm at. I'm going to stop and get directions. That's where you've come. You've come full circle now.
Yeah. Fortunately, we have what is that? Google Maps and all that.
That's cheating now.
I
We can do it
cheat.
on our phone. Absolutely. Glad you're with us today for the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisor Group. We're talking about financial literacy. And here's one of the things that could really help you, I think. And all you have to do is text the word toolkit to 951-667-4969. And you're going to get some retirement guides to kind of help give you an insight into some of the challenges of retirement. And then also Reed Abedine, a partner of Rick's at Safeguard, put together a webinar. So you've got a 30-minute webinar. You got some retirement guides. All you have to do to get it, there's no cost for this. There's no obligation. Then you have questions, you might want to call the team at Safeguard about it. But text the word toolkit for the retirement guides in the webinar, 951-667-4969. Text the word toolkit to 951-667-4969. I think it'll help your financial literacy is actually what it would do. Give you some great information. You know, when you read through the findings of the study, Rick, only 12% of women feel highly knowledgeable about long-term care, and only 27% of those women have a plan to fund it, despite the fact that 50% of women expect to require some form of long-term care. So women understand that they might need it more so than the male counterpart, their male counterpart. What's going on here? How do we maybe say, hey, women, we need to look into this a little bit?
You know what? I'm so glad you asked me that question. And I'll tell you exactly what I see when I see people for the first time. And I'll ask them, hey, is long-term care planning even a concern for you? And you are correct. Most women will say, hey, you know what? It's a concern for me. I don't want to be a burden on the kids. And a lot of the males will just tell me, you know what? They can just throw me in a dumpster. I'm not worried about that at all. So when it comes to long-term care planning, I think that a lot of people just think about, when it comes to long-term care planning, they think about long-term care insurance. And of course, long-term care insurance is one way. And of course, they say, well, I know long-term care insurance is expensive, or maybe maybe health-wise, they don't feel they could qualify. And, they're worried about putting money into it. And if down the road they don't ever use it, well, obviously, if they cancel it, they don't get the money back. And, so there's advantages and disadvantages of long-term care insurance. But the point that I want to get across is that if this is a concern of yours, and this is one area, and I want to stress, this is one area that you could have the perfect plan, you could have the comfortable retirement. God forbid you need long-term care at $8,000 to $10,000 a month. You can go through savings very quickly, and you can spend down your assets very quickly. So I want you to understand that can ruin a perfectly good retirement plan. But there are other strategies that you can use outside of just traditional long-term care insurance to address the problem. So if that is a concern of yours, you're like, hey, listen, I don't want to be a burden on the kids, or I am concerned because I've seen my mother go through it, or a friend of mine go through it, and they spent down their assets and left the surviving spouse, destitute. There are strategies outside of long-term care insurance that you can implement. And there might be a variety of different techniques that can be used under your particular situation that can address your particular concerns without necessarily having to purchase traditional long-term care insurance. So very important to sit down with somebody that specializes in that. And obviously we can, if they want to call us, they can call us, and we'll be happy to answer any questions they have regarding that topic.
Yeah, absolutely. 800-700-1980, 800-700-1980. And I've said this before, my mom's 86, has just moved from unassisted living to assisted living, $3,000 a month to $9,000 a month. And there's like 15 people in her wing. Rick, would you believe 14 of those 15 are women?
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the deal. There's a lot of moving parts here. Women are typically going to live 5 to 7 years longer than a man, same age. But if there's an age difference already, now you're talking about something different. So final part of this, because I think this is important. We all know, I think we'd all agree that if Grandpa is sick, Grandma's going to do everything she can to make him as comfortable as possible with no regard to, once he's gone, to what her life's going to be. She'll spend every nickel she has to make him as comfortable as she can. That's a part of really that big picture blueprint, isn't it? Making sure that the one person that does have some health issues, we're here to help and all of that, but the surviving spouse is not destitute, right?
Exactly. And that's what I was just saying earlier. I mean, that's the big thing. You won this comfortable retirement. You got your trust and will plan. You got the taxes all in line. You got, the income planning is all dialed in. And then the one thing we forgot about, long-term care planning, wipes it all away. And now the surviving spouse is in a situation, and we've seen this before, where they're like, now what do I do? All I have is the home. Do I now need to sell the home and downsize? Do I have to do a reverse mortgage just to get by? That puts them in a very stressful situation. Or do I now move in with the kids? So again, it can't hurt to sit down with somebody and see how you can set things up so that way you don't fall into that category.
So there's a lot of moving parts that Rick and the team are here to help guide you with, really. I mean, you think of a Sherpa. That's the guide that helps you get up to Mount Everest and back down. And most of the tragedies happen on the way down. Well, we've had a paycheck during our working years. Now we have to create our own if we're not fortunate enough to have a pension, with most of us are not. We don't have a pension. We have 401ks, IRAs. How do we make that last as long as we need it to? If we're married, how do we make sure that our spouse will be okay if something happens to us? There's so many moving pieces here that the team at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group is here to help guide you through that, give you the options that Rick was talking about for long-term care, for example. You make the decision, but you're now making a more educated decision, not a wing and a prayer. The idea is understand where you are. How do we make things better, whether it's income, investment strategies, tax-efficient strategies, the healthcare world, the estate planning. How do we make those decisions? Rick and the team can walk you through options. That would be nice to know that there are options, and there certainly are. Give the team a call if you'd like to sit down and chat with them. No time like the present, 800-700-1980. No cost for this. This is complimentary, 800-700-1980, 800-700-1980. Back with more with Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group. This is the Big Picture Retirement Show.
You're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. For more information about Rick and the Safeguard Investment Advisory Group team, go to safeguardinvestment.com. While you're there, you can also download educational retirement guides and sign up for an upcoming seminar. That's safeguardinvestment.com. Now, back to the podcast.
Welcome back to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. Rick is a partner at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, has over 20 years of experience in the financial industry. Rick, Reed Abbott, and Eddie Soto have all kind of come together to really give you the best retirement team maybe you can find in Southern California. The idea is this. You're getting ready to retire. You hope you have enough. You hope your money will last, but you don't know. Can I retire? Well, when can I retire? Sometimes Rick says, hey, you could have retired 3 or 5 years ago if you wanted to. Really? Holy cow, that's great to know. You can kind of leave your job whenever something makes you want to leave your job. But others go, maybe I want to retire in a month. Well, maybe it'd be better if it's 2 years. We don't know. And you don't know because you've never retired before. Talk with the team at Safeguard. 800-700-1980 is the number. 800-700-1980. Rick says in a 45-minute conversation with him, he guarantees you that he will give you 2 ideas that will enhance whatever it is you are currently doing. So besides the clarity you get into your retirement picture, he's going to give you a couple ideas that will help you, regardless of whether you become a client of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group. That's a great opportunity for you. 800-700-1980. Rick, remember those commercials we would see where, they'd be walking around the backyard or neighbor to neighbor and they'd have numbers under their arm? Hey, that's your number? Yeah, that's what they say. That's my number. I think it was ING. But there was always the dollar amount. We've always heard, hey, you need $1 million to be able to retire. Well, now maybe you need $1.2 million to retire. You sat down with people that had over $1 million and they couldn't retire. It still didn't match their lifestyle. You sat down with people that had $250,000, but they had a pension, they had Social Security, low debt, so they were pretty good to go. It's not really about the dollar amount. It's whomever you're sitting down with, right? It's not, they always say it's not, what you make, it's what you keep that counts. And that's really where your retirement planning, the big picture blueprint comes in for people. There's no one set dollar amount for everybody, right?
Oh, no, you're 100% correct on that. Everybody's different. And the challenge is that there's so many general rules of thumb out there that people will research on the internet, or maybe they'll hear from their friends or whatever. And none of these rules are really specific to their situation. And what I mean by that is, and even advisors, I hate to say it, but even, there's advisors out there that are using old antiquated rules that don't even work anymore. And there's a big difference between accumulation planning and actually even income planning. And these are things that we discuss in our workshop where, unfortunately, when it comes to an accumulation plan, people, throughout their working life, they're accumulating, they're saving money in their 401k. And then when it comes time for retirement, and now they need to create an income, basically what happens is, they may hear the term, and again, this is using, just general rules of thumb. Oh, you know what we need to do? You have a combination of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and what we need to do is based on your age, we're going to minus 100 from your age, and that should tell us what your split should be. And as long as you're using the 4% rule, you can, this money will last you the rest of your life. Basically, what they're doing is trying to take an accumulation plan and make it fit an income plan, which is not the case. And if that was the case and it really did work, I'll just take you to more recent times. Think about what happened in 2007 when people were retired using that type of planning. And then in 08, 09, some of them had to go back to work again. So there's a huge difference in an actual accumulation plan versus, hey, how am I going to structure my income plan that no matter what happens, market-wise, whatever happens, if the worst case scenario happens, I'm going to be okay no matter what. So that's what we have to look at.
And I wouldn't think it's unusual for somebody to come in and say, well, here's my retirement plan. Here are my 401ks that I've had from my jobs. Here's some IRA money that I've got. Here's some rental properties I have. That's my plan. And you go, no, that's not a plan. Those are the tools that are really important in helping us create your plan. But the tools are not a plan, are they?
No, it's how do we structure them now going forward? And everything is based on goals because you have to think about it. Your investments while you were working were structured in such a way that you didn't need an income off of it. You had a paycheck coming in each and every week. So technically you didn't need that money for income. So now what you're doing is you're accumulating. And then now when you retire, all of a sudden your situation changes. So now you retire and maybe your goal is to travel. Now we know you're not going to be getting a paycheck anymore. Maybe you have certain criteria you're trying to fulfill. So now we have to take these tools that you had while you were working and reallocate them in such a way that matches your current goals going forward, because now you're no longer getting a paycheck. And maybe now your circumstances have changed. And not only that, your tax situation may have changed as well. Because don't forget, maybe the home is paid off. You no longer have those exemptions anymore. Kids are out of the house. You don't have those exemptions anymore or write-offs anymore. So, and your income may be the same or more than when you're working. So taxes will be dramatically different. So this is why it's so important that, we don't do things willy-nilly. It's so important that you sit down with a professional that specializes, not just any professional, but somebody that specializes in retirement planning. So that way they can say, okay, you did a great job setting everything up. Here's some recommendations on how you can set things up going forward. So that way you can maximize things and you can enhance what you've already been able to accomplish.
800-700-1980 if you'd like to chat with Rick and the team at Safeguard. Figure out where you are. Do you need to make a tweak here or there? I don't know because I've never retired before. 800-700-1980. And there are great stockbrokers out there that are helping you grow your money. But there's really two phases of our money. There's the accumulation phase, then our retirement years, kind of the de-accumulation phase. And typically stockbrokers aren't, working in the retirement world. They're helping you grow your money, which is a great thing. But now when we get to retirement, there's a point of difference between what you do and what they do. And both have roles, but they come at different times in our lives. How would you explain Safeguard Investment Advisor Group to somebody that doesn't know anything about all the different financial advisors out there? How do you help people?
Okay, you know what? I think that's actually a great question. I think the challenge here, and even with do-it-yourselfers, a lot of, there's people out there, or let's say advisors out there, that are so busy chasing return in the market that they actually lose sight of the things that they can actually control, to the point that they're reaching over the dollars to pick up the pennies. Because it's one thing to, let's say you have the best investment in the world and it's making, it's making it 15% every year. You go, oh yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing all this research and I'm, making the best rate of return. But what good is that rate of return if we're not looking at taxes and we're not looking at, fees, and we're not looking at, Social Security, we're not looking at pensions. And now you're losing that return to taxes. You're losing it to long-term care. You're losing it to probate. You're losing it to all these other areas that are absorbing it, taking it away. So even if you have, a good amount of money saved, and let's just say you have a good amount of, you have this, somebody that's chasing return in the market, guaranteed. Nobody can predict what the market's going to do next year. Nobody can guarantee you exactly what returns you're going to get on your portfolio or what interest rates are going to be. So they're so busy chasing that return in the market that, if we can save you 10 or 15% on taxes, if we can save you 10 or 15% on tax on your Social Security, your pensions, and all the rest of it, how easy is it to make that same 10 or 15% in the market?
If we can increase your income by, $15, $20,000 a year by controlling the things that we can actually control, how easy is it to do the same thing in the market? So yeah, it's one thing to, want to get the best returns you can in the market. Of course, everybody wants to do that. But rather than leaving it to chance or some crystal ball, why not control all the other things that we can control? And then, of course, we try to get the best returns we can. But there's so much to retirement planning that people overlook that we can actually step in and say, hey, you're doing a great job here, but here's some other areas that we can really make this whole thing run even more efficiently. And that's the point that we need to get across.
So I like what you just said. You think about things that we can control, things we can't control. I think a lot of us think about taxes, for example. We can't control it. Well, you can help people control when and how they pay the taxes. And that's kind of the same thing for all the areas of Big Picture Blueprint: income, investment, taxes, healthcare, legacy planning, Social Security, Medicare. There's a lot of options. So that's the idea. You're here to help them pick the right option for their own situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the whole thing. And even bring up ideas or strategies that maybe they didn't even think about before. I can't tell you how many people come in and they're like, hey, you know what, Rick, I kind of figure out, I think I'm okay, but you know what? I don't know what I don't know. So I just want you to just get a second pair of eyes on this thing. And if there's any areas you think I could be enhancing or that could make a significant improvement, I'd love to at least know about that. And we'll do an analysis. In many cases, we'll even present ideas to them that they never even thought about. And they're like, oh my God, I'm so glad I came in. Because you know what? Now, later on in life, when this occurs or that occurs, I'm not going to be caught by surprise. Because we've been specializing in retirement planning now for over 2 decades, we can share ideas our own clients have been through that are in the same situation that you're in. We can share those ideas and let you know how they might work in your situation. So if you have questions on any of this stuff, just call me directly, 800-700-1980. And I promise you give me 45 minutes of your time and I'll give you 2 ideas that you'll be able to enhance your situation, and it will cost you nothing to do. Again, that number is 800-700-1980.
Firm offers insurance services. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC is a registered investment advisory firm. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC.